Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Podcast, where we combine learning with meaningful conversations. I'm your host, and today we're tackling a topic that's universal, something we all deal with at some point: anger. Whether it's a minor irritation or full-blown rage, anger is something that can really shake us up, and if we're not careful, it can lead to some serious consequences. But the good news is, anger doesn't have to control us. We can learn to manage it, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So, grab your headphones, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the art of controlling your anger. Let's start by getting to the root of what anger actually is. Anger, at its core, is an emotional response to something we perceive as a threat or an injustice. It's like our brain's way of telling us, "Hey, something's not right here." Think about the last time you got really angry. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, or perhaps a coworker took credit for your work. In that moment, your brain likely went into overdrive, signaling that something unfair just happened, and boom, anger kicked in. But anger isn't just about what's happening in your head. It's also a full-body experience. When you get angry, your heart starts pounding faster, your muscles tense up, and you might even feel your face getting hot. This is your body gearing up for action, thanks to a little hormone called adrenaline. This response is something we've inherited from our ancestors, who needed that surge of energy to fight off predators or run for safety. But here's the thing, in our modern world, we're not usually fighting off lions. Instead, we're dealing with much more complex and subtle triggers, like a rude comment or a missed deadline. And yet, our bodies react in much the same way. The problem is, if we let anger take control, it can lead us down a path of negative consequences, like saying things we don't mean, damaging relationships, or even harming our health. So, the key here is not to suppress our anger, but to understand it and manage it in a healthy way. Alright, so now that we've talked about what anger is, let's move on to the next important piece of the puzzle: recognizing when you're getting angry. This might sound simple, but you'd be surprised how many people don't notice their anger until it's already at a boiling point. The thing is, anger doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it builds up, sometimes slowly, and sometimes very quickly. Alright, so now that we've talked about what anger is, let's move on to the next important piece of the puzzle: recognizing when you're getting angry. This might sound simple, but you'd be surprised how many people don't notice their anger until it's already at a boiling point. The thing is, anger doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it builds up, sometimes slowly, and sometimes very quickly. On the emotional side, you might feel a sense of frustration, irritation, or even a bit of resentment bubbling up inside you. You might find yourself replaying the situation over and over in your head, getting more and more worked up with each passing moment. What's important here is to catch these signs early, before your anger escalates into something harder to control. One way to do this is to regularly check in with yourself throughout the day. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now, and why am I feeling this way? By staying in tune with your emotions, you can catch your anger while it's still manageable and take steps to calm down before it takes over. So, you've recognized that you're starting to get angry, now what? How do you stop that anger from spiraling out of control? The good news is, there are several techniques you can use right in the moment to help manage your anger. Let's start with something simple but incredibly effective: deep breathing. I know it might sound a bit cliché, but trust me, it works. When you're angry, your body goes into fight or flight mode, and your breathing tends to become shallow and rapid. This only adds fuel to the fire, so to speak. But by taking deep, slow breaths, you can signal to your body that it's okay to calm down. Here's how you can do it: breathe in deeply through your nose for a count of 4, hold that breath for another count of 4, and then slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 4. Repeat this a few times, and you'll likely feel your heart rate slowing down and your body relaxing. Another technique is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is all about staying in the present moment without judgment. When you feel your anger rising, take a step back and observe your thoughts and feelings, without getting caught up in them. For example, you might say to yourself, I'm feeling really angry right now because that person just cut in line. By acknowledging your feelings in this way, you create a bit of distance between yourself and the emotion, which can help you stay calm and composed. If you're in a situation where you can't immediately address the source of your anger, like in the middle of a meeting or while dealing with a difficult customer, taking a timeout can be a lifesaver. I don't mean storming off in a huff, but rather, giving yourself a brief moment to cool down. You could excuse yourself to go to the restroom, take a few deep breaths, or even just count to 10 in your head. This short break gives you the space to think before you react, which can make all the difference in how the situation plays out. Let's talk about the power of reframing your thoughts. Sometimes, it's not the situation itself that makes us angry, but how we interpret it. For instance, imagine you're driving to work and someone cuts you off. Your immediate thought might be, that person is so rude. They don't care about anyone else on the road. This thought, in turn, makes you even angrier. But what if you tried to reframe the situation? Instead of assuming the worst, you might think, maybe they're in a hurry because they have an emergency, or, I've made mistakes while driving too, so I shouldn't take this personally. Reframing doesn't mean that you're excusing bad behavior, it's about shifting your perspective so that you don't let the situation ruin your day. It's about choosing to see things in a way that helps you stay calm and focused, rather than letting anger take over. This takes practice, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. The next time you find yourself getting worked up, take a moment to ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? Am I assuming the worst? By challenging your initial thoughts, you can defuse your anger before it gets out of hand. Another great way to manage anger is through physical activity. When you're angry, your body is flooded with energy that needs to be released. Exercise is a fantastic outlet for this. Whether it's going for a run, hitting the gym, or even just taking a brisk walk, moving your body can help dissipate the tension and adrenaline that build up when you're angry. Exercise doesn't just help in the moment, it also has long-term benefits for managing anger. Regular physical activity can lower your overall stress levels, making it less likely that you'll get angry in the first place. Plus, exercise releases endorphins, which are your body's natural mood boosters. So, if you're someone who tends to bottle up anger, finding a physical activity you enjoy can be a game changer. It gives you a healthy outlet for your emotions and helps you feel more balanced overall. Now, while it's crucial to have techniques for managing anger in the heat of the moment, it's equally important to develop long-term strategies that can help you prevent anger from building up in the first place. One such strategy is incorporating relaxation techniques into your daily routine. This could be anything from meditation to deep breathing exercises to yoga, whatever helps you feel calm and centered. The idea here is to create a calm baseline so that when something does trigger your anger, you're starting from a place of calm rather than a place of stress. Meditation, for instance, can be particularly helpful because it teaches you to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them, which can be incredibly useful when it comes to managing anger. Improving your communication skills is another long-term strategy that can make a big difference. A lot of anger comes from misunderstandings or poor communication. By learning how to express your feelings clearly and assertively, without being aggressive, you can prevent many anger-inducing situations from escalating. For example, instead of letting your frustrations build up until you explode, try expressing them calmly as they arise. You might say something like, I felt upset when you interrupted me during the meeting because it made me feel like my ideas weren't valued. This kind of communication helps you address issues without letting anger take over. Another long-term approach is to take a closer look at the underlying causes of your anger. Is there a particular situation, person, or pattern that consistently makes you angry? If so, it might be worth exploring why this triggers such a strong reaction in you. Sometimes, anger is a sign that something deeper needs to be addressed, whether it's unresolved issues from the past, unmet needs, or feelings of powerlessness. By working through these underlying issues, perhaps with the help of a therapist, you can reduce the frequency and intensity of your anger. Speaking of therapy, let's talk about when it might be time to seek professional help for anger management. Look, we all get angry from time to time, and that's perfectly normal. But if you find that your anger is getting in the way of your relationships, your work, or your overall well-being, it might be a sign that you need some extra support. A therapist or counselor can help you dig deeper into the root causes of your anger and work with you to develop strategies for managing it more effectively. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is one approach that's been shown to be particularly effective for anger management. CBT helps you identify and change the thought patterns and behaviors that contribute to your anger, and it gives you practical tools for managing your emotions. There's absolutely no shame in seeking help. In fact, it's a sign of strength to recognize when you need support and to take steps to get it. With the right help, you can learn to manage your anger in a healthy way and improve your relationships and overall quality of life. Alright, we've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding what anger is, to recognizing its early signs, to practical techniques for managing it in the moment and strategies for keeping it in check over the long term. Remember, anger is a normal and natural emotion, but it's one that needs to be managed carefully. The key is not to suppress your anger, but to understand it, manage it, and express it in a healthy way. By practicing the techniques we've talked about today, like deep breathing, mindfulness, and reframing your thoughts, you can take control of your anger rather than letting it control you. And if you find that your anger is too much to handle on your own, don't hesitate to seek help from a professional. With the right support, you can learn to manage your anger and improve your relationships, your work, and your overall well-being. Thank you so much for joining me on English Podcast today. I hope you found this episode helpful, and I encourage you to put some of these techniques into practice the next time you feel anger rising. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might benefit from it. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to reach out and share your experiences. Until next time, take care and stay calm.